Hi, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the first video that we put out. We're following that video up with a video looking at the transfers that Arsenal will possibly be looking into. Some of my ideas on 3 players that I believe would massively improve this squad. I've made 2 lists looking at 1 defender, 1 midfielder and 1 forward. And we'll be breaking those lists down into realistic targets and slightly unrealistic targets. Guys, if you enjoy the videos, then I really hope that you are able to like, subscribe and share, as I will be doing my best to bring you guys more content. For now, I'd love you guys to stick with me through to the end, at which point I will reveal what my number 1 player is that I'd love to see playing at the Arsenal next season. And guys, if I'm honest, this one's going to be very niche. So please bear with me as I try to explain. Before we begin, we're ready to go. Target number 1 is 22-year-old defender Marc Guéhi, who plays for Crystal Palace. Marc Guéhi, I think, is a fantastic defender, and we've seen him do a lot of great work in the Premier League this season. Strong, robust, big in the aerial duels, very intelligent, racks up a lot of clearances and interceptions due to his front-footed playing style. I think we've already seen links to this defender already, and it's very certain that he's going to be one to look out for in the future. Already played international games with the England squad. I think Marc Guéhi would be a great addition to this Arsenal team, and for that reason I think that he'd be a fantastic defender to slot into our Arsenal system. Marc Guéhi definitely has a profile that is very similar to Saliba in terms of rapid pace, in terms of composure on the ball. He's a very calm player, and we've seen his importance at Crystal Palace in the fact that he's played almost the majority, if not all, of the games. Good in possession, currently sitting at 85% pass completion for the season. I think Marc Guéhi is a fantastic decision and solution to the issue of squad depth. And so for that reason, I think that Marc Guéhi is somebody that Arsenal should be considering for their upcoming transfer window. Now, the second player looking at the midfielder list is going to be one that's hotly contested because the fan base have received many conflicting reports about the availability, the price, how close we are to this particular transfer, and again, which other transfers that certain members of the fan base want in comparison to this particular player. However, my personal choice is going to be West Ham's Declan Rice. I think we need to snatch their captain. I think he's a fantastic player. I rate Declan Rice so highly. Tremendous ball winner, so intelligent, fantastic reader of the game, somebody competent, really strong at turning defensive actions into attack with long driving runs, great range of passing, both short and long. When you look at Rice's statistics in comparison to Partey, one of the major standing points is his availability. Rice in 3 years of football has missed very few games, and this season racked up almost 800 more minutes than Thomas Partey due to his ability to stay fit and strong throughout the entirety of the season. Currently, Declan Rice is on track to lead West Ham to European glory as they stand with a 2-1 lead in the Conference League. And we've seen that his ability to impose himself has not only been something that he's done at West Ham, but also at international level. Added to that, Rice is an incredibly versatile player, strong at the back, can play multiple positions across that midfield line, and I think in certain systems could even be deployed slightly higher up the field owing to the fact that he is such a powerful runner, really good on the ball. I can't see past the selection of Declan Rice for possibly what would be our number 1 target next season. And I think that his addition would be a massive benefit to our squad. I've mentioned this player before, and it's very easy to continue the praise that I have for him, but I think many Arsenal fans will agree that Ivan Toney is almost certainly going to be right up there in terms of priority for strikers for our team as well. When looking across Europe, the striker market is incredibly hard to find value in. And Ivan Toney has scored 20 goals this Premier League season. and 12 last season in his debut Premier League season, and clearly shows signs of someone who's capable of doing a very wide range of things. Very competent playing with his back to goal, a clinical finisher, deadly in set pieces. Ivan Toney has linked up incredibly well with his teammates this season in Mbeumo, De Silva, Wissa, and in all the games that I've observed, never shied away from getting involved in a more physical confrontation, playing with much bigger defenders, and being involved in the scraps and the strong physical battles. I think Ivan Toney definitely offers a very different profile to our current main option in Gabriel Jesus. One of the main things that Arsenal were missing was a spearhead to their attack, and I think having somebody like Toney to offer a different solution to a Gabriel Jesus is going to be something that we can massively benefit from. And I really can't look past Ivan Toney as being one of the number one realistic forward targets for us for next season's campaign. Now, moving on to my list of slightly more unrealistics, looking at the defensive position, I want to start with a player for whom I think has had a fantastic season off the back of an incredible World Cup campaign. And I know it is an absolute mistake to take a look at cup competition and base your opinions on a player. But looking at this defender, it's really hard to see how he does not develop into a top 5, top 10 centre-back in the next 5 to 10 years. The player I'm talking about is Josko Gvardiol, Croatian defender, somebody incredibly strong, incredibly combative, and a fantastic reader of the game. We saw Gvardiol have an incredible World Cup campaign, shutting out the likes of Belgium, Morocco, and more recently in his league campaign has been incredibly dominant in all areas of gameplay. From pass completion to aerial duels, tackle success, even dribbling. I think Gvardiol is an incredible option for somebody in that left-sided role. For Leipzig, he's occupied the centre-half position, but is also very capable to transition into that left-back position. And why this would be an incredible solution for Arsenal would be because we've seen Mikel Arteta often opt for a centre-back or somebody with that skill set to push into those wider positions to offer a lot of solidarity in that defensive line. It makes sense why some of the big European giants are very, very interested in someone of this talent. And so I anticipate that Gvardiol will very likely have a very big move for him in the next few years, possibly somewhere like the Madrids or Bayern Munichs of the world. And I only anticipate that his career trajectory will keep on going up and up and up. Now, moving on to my number one dream choice of player that I'd love to see at the Arsenal. And it's very hard to describe why I would want this player specifically to join the Arsenal, but I think it will be incredibly evident when you look at this man's accomplishments and skill sets that he is a fantastic player, and any squad in the world would be massively, massively happy to have him. My choice for number one player that I'd love to see Arsenal pick up in a dream scenario would be Bayern Munich's Joshua Kimmich. I have a massive appreciation for German players and the talent that they've produced over the past few years. From Klose to Müller, Lahm, Cruz, all players that I feel truly embody the style of football and mentality that I love to see on the football pitch. It's a player who is incredibly decorated. He has seen massive amounts of success, and if there's one thing that Arsenal need to incorporate into the squad, it's going to be winners. People who have seen titles, people who have seen Champions Leagues, people who have seen and experienced games at the highest level. I think very few players in the world have a CV that compares to Joshua Kimmich, if I'm super honest. Interesting enough about Joshua Kimmich is that he has in the past, more recent years, explained his desire to potentially look at playing football abroad. In a recent interview, he was quoted in saying that that would be an interesting challenge and that he doesn't know where football would take him in the next few years. However, he really appreciates the fact that at his current club, he has a style of football that he really finds quite attractive and of course enjoys. So any potential bid for Joshua Kimmich would have to be astronomical to prize away a talent with that level of quality. His list of skill sets and versatility is endless. A man with incredible passing, again, short range, long range, a man competent in all sections in the midfield, back line, somebody who has an incredible shot, incredible pass, incredible vision, fantastically press resistant, and has utter awareness of all the space and play and positions and tactics. I absolutely adore this player, and I think that at 28 years old, Joshua Kimmich is only going to get better and is currently in the prime of his powers. And I think that picking up players like Kimmich at this moment in their career is exactly what champions do. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, he is listed in our unrealistic section. However, we have seen in more recent years Arsenal pick up world-class talent in Ozil, in Alexis Sanchez and Aubameyang. And so there's a small part of me that remains optimistic that Arsenal has a signing of at least this kind of caliber somewhere tucked away, ready to go for the next season. I see Joshua Kimmich coming in and being a leader, somebody who's going to organise the dressing room and be an absolute dictator on the pitch. And I don't think that there's a player in the Premier League currently, bar Kevin De Bruyne, who has his level of class and his level of ability. So Joshua Kimmich stands as my number one selection for midfield players that I would love to see at the Arsenal in our unrealistic category. Moving on into the forward of the unrealistic category, and while I will say that there were better choices for this player, what I didn't want to do was look at super far-fetched options, okay? The striker market, we understand, in Europe is incredibly competitive, and as such, there are very few options available for players that are somewhat realistically open to moves at prices that I think Arsenal can fetch. So he will remain in this category as my number one choice for forward. And that player is Sebastian Haller. Haller, in my opinion, is an incredible striker. He has a fantastic record at all of the clubs he's played at, Frankfurt, Ajax, and Borussia Dortmund most recently. And I think it's easy for Premier League fans to write off this player with his short stint at West Ham. However, he is on record quoted as saying that he didn't blame Moyes and that he wasn't the striker that Moyes needed at that time. And so when you look at a player who's racked up 76 goals in 130 appearances, 10 of which come in 16 Champions League games, it's really easy to see how Sebastian Haller could be a fantastic addition to this Arsenal squad. He has a lucidity in his blood when it comes to play in the box. He comes alive and has that poacher's instinct. Very strong as well and very competent in the air. Sebastian Haller is the kind of player that definitely offers Arsenal a plan B type of play. Once again, Haller at 28 is a player that I believe is approaching his peak owing to his game and play style. I think he's somebody that we could see improve. His game is not a game based on pace, but more in terms of intelligence and being in the right place at the right time and converting a significant amount of his shots. The Bundesliga is often a very hit or miss league to assess or poach talent from. So it's quite a tough one to reason how well Haller would adjust to the Premier League or even to this Arsenal system. However, I think asking the question of how he could fit into Mikel Arteta's team is something that I would be very, very interested in seeing. And so for that reason, Sebastian Haller sits as my number one choice for unrealistic striker targets.